We need a borderless continent. We need a continent with one currency. We need a continent with one parliament, which has got teeth and it will bite and hold the executives in countries accountable. And ultimately, we need one African president. We need United States of Africa. We supported and we continue to support those ideals of brother leader Gaddafi. We are following in the footsteps of those leaders. We are not saying they were perfect, some of them, but there are a lot of teachings that come from our leaders in the continent which we can follow because we think they will unite us. This thing was the one thing called Africa. This was one thing. It was divided by colonizers. These borders are artificial borders imposed on us by colonizers. Why do you want to behave like you are owning colonizers' properties? These borders are colonizers' properties, they are not ours. Let us go back to African unity. We want one voice, one Africa. We must stop doing away with African hate, which was instilled in us by the colonizers. When you say, hey, there are too many Zimbabweans here, there are too many Nigerians here, hey, you are doing the work of the devil, which is to divide Africans. Be angry with Nigerians and South Africans for doing crimes, the same, Zimbabweans, the same way you are with South Africans who commit crimes. They must be treated the same.
Who said that Africa cannot be part of the solution? That when Africa is being discussed, it's only being discussed in the context of the problems. And our voices are limited to, oh no, you are victims of climate change. We will help you to manage situation. We will manage you to deal with adaptation. We will look for some little money for mitigation. We do not want to be in that corner. We want to be in the conversation about the solutions.
We are unable to unite because we are divided along colonial lines, Francophones and Anglophones. We need to do away with that. We need to love our African brothers in America when they are being slaughtered, in London when they are being slaughtered. They need to know that we love them here in South Africa. They remain our brothers. Love each other everywhere else where you find one another. Protect each other, Africans, because we are in the receiving end of capitalism. Capitalism inherently, it is racist. That's why it's targeting blacks everywhere else where blacks are found. So we need to do away with that. We need and Commonwealth is actually one of the institutions that perpetuate African divisions. We still have judges in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, wearing blonde wigs. What is that? What is that? And including some scholars who are lawyers, they are wearing those things. They still wear those things and come and lecture us about decolonization, wearing a wig. Decolonizing Africa starts with simple things. Starts with doing away with apartheid colonial symbols and a colonial way of doing things. We must, and even if it's not our generation, generations to come, we must have a language that unites Africans, like Swahili. If Swahili can be developed and it become a continental language, and then we do away with speaking to each other in English, because that's what colonizers did. Divided us, made sure that we don't have a common language to communicate amongst ourselves, and then we use their language to communicate so that they can hear everything we say. So we need to do away with that if we want Africa, which will be an equal competitor with the West.
Mr. President, in the last 4 months, I have sent a special envoy to 15 countries, amongst them Egypt, from Egypt to South Africa, because we need to consolidate the market around East African Community, SADC, and COMESA. We are remaining with a few signatures. I think only 3 countries need to sign in so that we can consolidate this market into the TFTA that will give us 720 million people with a GDP of 1.3 trillion, and we can create a huge market that can be competitive with other markets globally.
But everywhere else in the continent, we need to start doing away with those things. And pulling out of Commonwealth is one of the things we need to do to realize a complete sovereignty for South Africa. We must not be scared to say that. We must be hated. It might not happen now, but that is what we're envisaging for the future of South Africa. It might not be realized in our lifetime, but those who are coming after us should know what we stood for. We were anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, and therefore anything that represented imperialism and colonialism we reject. In the same way we reject Trump, in the same way we reject Theresa May, we reject everything that represented. When we said roads must fall, we meant exactly that we need to do away with symbols that represent colonialism. As we speak now, the EFF doesn't participate in the Commonwealth Parliament Forum. We don't. The EFF refuses to participate in multinational organizations that have got close links and relations with imperialism. We refuse. We don't do that. And our going to London, talking to business people in London, talking to business people in America, everywhere else, is not talking to imperialism. It's talking to individual potential investors. The same thing we can do in Nigeria. The same thing we can do in Kenya. Strengthen African Union. We need to strengthen African Parliament. We need to strengthen African judicial system. We need to trial tyrants here in Africa. We need to trial and jail dictators here in Africa through our own African judicial system. We can do it. We don't need imperialists to come and tell us how we can conduct our affairs in this continent. For that we shall be hated. But let us be killed and hated for what we stand for. We must not be scared to die for the things that we stand for. That's what we represent. That's what we stand for. And not being scared to die. I saw a Muruti that Kenneth Mishwe say, Malema is always surrendered by bodyguards and all that. Not being scared to die doesn't mean you must live a reckless life. Because any leader that lives a reckless life and doesn't protect himself, that leader will compromise the revolution. We need to protect our leadership. But if death comes, Malema must not ask for forgiveness. Malema must tell them, kill me, dog. That's what we are here to do. Kill me. Kill me for what I represent. Those should be the last words when you die as a revolutionary. Die with your boots on. Die not apologizing, because the enemy one day will tell the story of your life and they will say these were the last words. The last words of a revolutionary must inspire generations to come to continue the fight for a total economic emancipation of the African continent. Thank you very much.
That it is not intelligent for 54 of us to go and sit before one gentleman from another place and I mean, and sometimes we are mistreated.
Yeah.
You know, we are loaded into buses like school kids. You know, and it's not right.
Well, you are summoned. You know,
it's not right. And we are not against the US dollar. We just want to trade much more freely. let us pay in US dollars what we are buying from the US. But what we are buying from Djibouti, let's use local currency. Do you know that only 5 countries of this world hold meaningful power in the UN Security Council? None of them is African. More than half of the world's population is not represented in the UN Security Council. It is neither democratic, it is not representative, it is not transparent, it is not accountable. As a result, it is unable to effectively respond to the pressing peace and security needs of the parts of the world most affected by conflict and insecurity in our global south. Its attitude to conflicts is geographically determined, and its intervention is likewise biased. In 2023, it should not be possible for the foremost institution of global governance to remain so egregiously exclusive and non-representative and claim to stand for any meaningful human norm.